Welcome everybody to the Select Board meeting, Monday, September 16th, 2024 at 6:30. We open this meeting now, joined by multiple flies that were let in during voting.
Yes, and we do this.
We'll open as per usual with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dave Hemingway, Chair of the Select Board.
Marlo Harris. Normandy Blake.
And so our usual, since we actually have a few people, just a reminder that we normally go by school rules, so please don't cut people off, and please raise your hand if we're like in the middle of talking, and we will do our best to make sure that you're included in the conversation. For announcements, I actually have a correction. I'm very sorry, I was getting ahead of myself when I told many folks during voting that this was my last year on the board and my position would be up for election this March.
Oh, so
You're
you
stuck
didn't
with me for another year.
Yeah.
So that would actually be you.
Yes. it'd be
So
me.
the same thing being said either way, though, is true. If you or anyone that you know is interested in how the town functions or have logical and business sense, please contact any of us or Dana for more information. If you would be one that would like to sit up here and assist the town and the direction of the town. Also, thank you to all those who came out to vote in the primary, and especially those who worked diligently to make sure that voting went off without a hitch. Well done to all the election officials and volunteers. If you want to see how any of that is done, it is always open to the public, and you can also contact the town moderator or town clerk if you're interested in serving the town and our democratic republic in the future. Do we have any further announcements?
I have a few announcements. The new heating system is going to be installed Thursday, Friday, and next Monday.
Wow.
Awesome.
So,
I mean, we're not gonna talk about it again?
you know, unless you want to talk about it.
I bet you're excited.
The tree that's on the building is going to be removed as soon as Eric Gay has a moment. And he said it would be within the week or so. The advertisement for Clothespin Bridge construction has been released and has gone out. The invitation is on the town's bulletin board as well as on the website. Plans are available by contacting Greg Goodrich at Van S. Hangen, Bruslin. Can be in electronic form or hard copy. Hard copies would be $100. There is a non-mandatory pre-bid construction meeting for Tuesday, September 24th, next Tuesday at 10 a.m. at the town office conference room. Bids are due on October 8th. So far, several qualified firms have already requested plans, many of which we have worked with before.
Oh, good.
And so that's good. As a reminder, the construction of the bridge is going to be covered under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021. The construction budget is $3,435,548, and the total cost is $3,815,648.30, of which the town's portion is approximately $75,000. Now, I need to work with our auditors, and I'll be working with the board because we will have to pay bills as they come in and be reimbursed. So that's going to change the cash flow a little bit. So I want to be prepared for that. It's expected that the bridge won't be completed until 2026. It's also expected that the road will be closed about 8 months. So that is the happy news.
Okay, well, we'll see which of the firms decide what for timing, but do we have more information on how and or when the reimbursements from state and or federal kick in as part of that process?
I believe on a monthly basis.
Okay.
I will be submitting bills and expenses, and obviously, we have to prove that we've paid them and go through that
So you're
process.
supposed to pay them, then submit them?
Then we get, yes. So there's gonna be a lag. Best case scenario, I would say probably 90 days, we'd be paid within 90 days. Although it's not always best case scenario.
So
State's pretty good
when,
though, I think. And the fed's a
I think so, yeah.
so when we did this with, when we used to run roads out of the funds instead of mostly out of the budget, we established the extra line item to be able to kind of buffer through that. Is there a similar way to have a line item like that, that because I know we're not allowed to put back into funds?
Right.
With reimbursements, is there a way to do a similar line item that can be used both sides? For example, a revenue and which would be the reimbursement, and the output, such that we only need to reconcile that with the fund at the end, or as the first payment, for example.
Well,
before we get them.
I've never been aware of a two-way fund, if you will, because it would just show a very large overdraft on your expense side, offset by your revenue. And I don't think there's another way to do it, but I'll talk to DRA about that as well.
Okay.
And see what we can do.
Yeah, however they want us to handle it, of course, we will, but.
And, you know, it's not like no town's never done it before.
Right.
So,
All right. Anything else?
That's all
on
I
that?
have.
All right.
That's all your announcements?
Yes, I'm done.
Oh, okay.
Do you have announcements?
No, I'm here.
Okay. All right. Any announcements from the chief since he's here?
We're good right at the moment.
All right.
Other than it'd be nice to get some help, but we're holding our own.
So that moves us on to, and perfect topic, our first appointment with John Clark. So come on down, sir.
Thank you. I have an agenda, and I put this together so we don't get it straight in. I hate to waste time, because I know these meetings sometimes can get carried away, and we don't want to do that. Thanks for letting me come on board this evening. Do you mind if I sit?
Please.
No,
Is
please
that
do.
Okay, I didn't want to
Yeah, that's usually
take
the-
advantage of the
way
moment.
that it works.
I had some good conversations with the three of you on last Tuesday when we were here for voting, with the confusion and number of people and people listening, maybe not hearing and whatnot. I wanted to be a little bit more formal. Let me be upfront too. As you know, I'm affiliated with several organizations here in town, and I'm employed professionally and retired professionally. It has nothing to do with me being here this evening. Let me further say that I have great respect for our police department. Chief and I have been friends for a number of years. We worked together for a number of years. So this is no commentary of negativism toward them. But I've been very concerned about behavior in town. I've been concerned about a number of things. Before we get to that, let's take the solar array right off the agenda tonight. I think Dana and David and I have had good conversations about what needs to be done there. And I'm very concerned about the trees coming up through that structure. And if you go over there, and you said you had, there's real need to get that cut down. So I think you understand that. I don't want to beat that dead horse. Let's leave it where it's at. Let's go to number 3 on the agenda, if we could. And if I recall correctly, that is staffing. And I'd like to know, and again, please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this to be condescending anyway. I don't want to get into a one-on-one staffing across America, okay? We all understand how difficult it is. Some of you own businesses, some of you work privately. We all understand this problem every day. Let's get beyond that. What are we doing to try and help these folks get another officer on board? What have you looked at beyond that curve, the apex of that curve, to look down the road another half a mile or so and say, this is what we might want to try creatively to do? And I'd just like to hear that.
I personally, we have updates once a month with Chief Adams. He lets us know what he's working on. They kind of run, I looked at it as that's what you do. You run that side. we have had some good people and have lost, just as any business owner has, especially the ones you think, oh, I've got it, they're in, and then bye-bye.
There you go.
And a lot of times you don't even know the bye-bye's coming. So for us, Chief Adams has given us updates, but has not expressed, he's expressed that he got this, got that. I don't feel he's expressed like, holy crap, I'm in trouble, what can we do? That's just me, maybe I've been misunderstanding you, but, you know, they have their budget, he works with his help, and he just really pretty much reports to us, and we like hearing the feedback, and are always here to help him if he needs anything, but have not thought that was part of something we were responsible for, to be honest with you. So that's me, personally, which I understand where you're here, and maybe there is more creative ways. But that's where I'm at with it.
I would echo a lot of that, and that we look to the chief to be the one that tells us what we need, what we should try, what we should think about, in ways to go about getting more effective, more numbers, more value out of members, whether they're new or current. And also ways to look at expanding without costing the town a lot of money. One of the, I wouldn't call it creative, I would call it really great business sense ideas from the chief, is that there are a couple things like grants that will allow us to go out and hire an additional officer. The problem is we need to fill the position that we have first before we can actually go out to add a position. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
No, you're right, you have to fill your empty positions before you
And
can apply
that
for one.
whether or not we're looking for the current open position or that next position, the problem is really that no place has enough police officers from what I've been hearing. But again, we mostly lean on the chief to provide us with what he would like to see, or whether he thinks we need to be doing additional or more.
I think he's doing a good job.
And that's,
So,
and not to interject it at all, but that's what's gonna come up when we hit the budget season, because that's where we're really gonna have to have that discussion, because that's what it comes down to. Let's face it, it comes down to money. And the last thing I wanna do is raise the taxes. That's the last thing we wanna do. Nobody wants to see that, but I honestly can't see any other way to change the attitude and everything of some of these guys. They're all looking for the money. That's what it is. And I noticed that John's got in here about the one I was hoping and praying that we were gonna get. He went next town over. 100% Blue Cross Blue Shield that we don't offer. $15,000 sign-on bonus that we don't offer. Actually, $3.50 an hour more than what our top pay would even be for a certified guy. And that was going above and beyond what we were paying our last guy. So,
and can't blame him for doing that.
and that's what it is. I mean,
It's all
Franklin's
money.
down 5 people, state police is down 77 or 78, I think, as last count. Concord's down 21. I mean, they're down everywhere. And you can't pay enough money to hire them. I don't care what you get, and the problem is, I am not gonna hire somebody just to fill a slot. That ain't gonna happen, because that's just throwing money away. We've had guys that have come in and said, hey, I really wanna go to work. Well, we get into the background, and it's like, there is no way on earth. I don't care if you took half pay, I wouldn't hire him, because he'll end up costing us money in lawsuits or just pure headaches. It wouldn't be worth it.
Well, and we all see that, you know, from a business standpoint, where you
absolutely.
got
We all have
people-
those employees.
You got the old, okay, you can go down the road.
Yeah.
Just get to the next spot. But it's hard.
And that's
And
what.
you're doing a good, I mean, we have some good part-time guys.
Yeah, but the problem is, part-time guys are getting slim.
Yeah.
One of our part-timers that was working 2 days a week, he's gonna go down to 1 day a week, because his regular job now is he's covering 4 states instead of just New Hampshire. So he's on the road all the time.
Wow.
So that's gonna kill that, and he's the ex-chief of Bosquen.
Again, let me emphasize, this isn't about Steve. Okay?
Right, right.
I want to be very clear about that. Or, you know, a great deal of respect. You know, I think Steve's planning daily while school's in session. You know, 97, I don't know how many children in the school over here now, but 94, 95, it was 97 of your best assets. Family loved, family churches right across the street. And given all that's going on around this country right now, you need 2 police officers on during the daytime. And that's the problem. You gotta have that, because the response is minimal. Getting a trooper up here is gonna be 20 or 30 minutes. These 2 guys can get down here and deal with the problem. And I know he tries to, and correct me if I'm wrong, chief, he tries to maximize that staffing for the day. I know they're in here 6, 7 o'clock in the morning to deal with the school bus issue, to deal with any potential issues there, and to deal with the students. So I don't want you to think I don't see that. I see it, but we have to do something. We've got problems in town, reckless operation, high speed. I was not gonna come here tonight. I didn't wanna take the time, I knew it was gonna be a hot night. We talked, I figured the point got across, but I figured, you know. But yesterday morning, I'm jogging on Long Street. And I'm a jogger, my wife's a jogger, we walk the dog, as other people I think in this room do. A motorcycle came to the crest of the hill right by the church, and good thing morning service wasn't happening. Fortunately, it was down here yesterday morning, because as you know, you have a lot of seniors that go to that morning service. He hit that bike, front wheel off the ground, coming off the top of that hill on a Harley. He went on a side 90-degree turn away from me to not hit me. I went down the road, in my experience, and I've got a little bit, probably 60, 70 miles an hour down Long Street. That is intolerable. And we're seeing those speeds a lot. Without getting into the dialogue I was going to speak about tonight, which is about a page I was going to recite to you. This spring, I go to work early, like some of you do. I'm out there on the road to Warner, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. One Monday morning this spring, and it was reported to the police department. I know Steve and Phil went out and checked on it when they got on duty. The reckless operation indicators and burn marks and evidence on that road out there was intolerable. Whoever did that, from this town line, or should I say the dam up here, all the way to the Warner town line, went off the road in my count 4 times. And the ditches where they went off the road were a good 4 to 8 inches deep, which meant it was excessive speed. And I don't know if you know the little game of burning out the tires, pumping them up to 80 miles an hour and going 100 miles an hour, while you're standing still to get those tires going. Had somebody been coming down that road, a family, a young teenager, an elderly person, they'd been head-on like there was no tomorrow. We are all responsible for that. I as a citizen, you as a board, police department. I don't want to see that type of tragedy happening. I don't want to see one of my neighbors get hit by a car. I don't want to see something happen to my wife or me. But yesterday, I'll tell you, if I got the plate off the bike, I'd have wrote the complaint for you said. I'm sick and tired of seeing it, and I don't mean to pound you people with it, but it's got to stop. We can't have that. And you know, 95% of Webster people and people across this country, probably with a little blue light action on, slow down a little bit with a little reminder, stop and say, please slow, people get it. But you get 5% of the people, the only way they learn is getting their butts arrested. Or going to court, getting a car towed, and being charged with reckless operation. I have a friend that's in state police that I work with. State police ran the plane a couple weeks ago. You know how many cars they had going over 106 miles an hour? 16 on I-93. Over 106 miles an hour. They weren't touching anything under 85. And you don't have the time to tow the ones over 106 because there's 10 more going by them at 106 miles an hour. And that's the point. And we're seeing those kinds of speeds out here. It's not your fault. I'm not saying it. But we're seeing those kinds of speeds. We need another police officer to fill that position. And in speaking with the chief, and chief, feel free to say what you need to say here this evening, we need probably 2 more part-timers, because Steve is 100% correct. One of those part-timers works in another community, does a great job, he comes here, tries to do an adequate job, and the other one can't work because he's got a full-time position. We really need to look at that budget when we start getting into budget season and see what we all can do, and I will be the first one to stand up and support you into why we need another police officer and why we need to pay that. And we might also want to look, and the chief and I have talked about this, at maybe hiring 2 New Hampshire retired certified officers to fill that void in the meantime, or fill that part-time void. I mean, these guys get, what, 3-4 weeks of well-deserved vacation a year. That's 8 weeks a year. We're not covered right now, and these part-time officers can't cover that every night, and you know that. And the chief, like myself, professionally, is restrained to 28 hours a week. So that's another, that's another management issue for him that he has to deal with. So I'm just saying to you, we really need to think about it. It's not argumentation, it's not to be condescending, it's not to be rude. It's to say what's really happening out there. And we need to address it. I mean, I'd welcome any of you to come up and sit on my front porch on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday night, and we'll sit there and you watch the cars go by. Cars go by my house 70, 80 miles an hour. We have children down the street on Long Street where that thing happened yesterday. There's 2 families down there with children and pets. I went by Emmett and Susie's the other day, running, I'm jogging. They've got friendly dogs that come out and greet me. I know everybody's dog in the neighborhood. We had a vendor go by there. Those dogs ran out. If that vendor, those dogs had not seen me, had seen me quicker, that vendor would have run those dogs over driving by in the pickup truck, because that pickup truck was probably going 50 miles an hour on that road. In fact, Susie thought the dogs might have got hit. So I'm speaking for neighbors, I'm speaking for people, and Sue and I had that discussion yesterday, and quite frankly, in thinking about it, that's a road in town you might want to think residential access only. Because there's no need for any vendor or any trailer truck or anybody else to go down that road unless it, unless it's Addie logging out of there, it's Emmett or somebody like that. That road is becoming a walking trail. There's people here tonight that probably can talk about that. But I'm just throwing it out there as an example. Here I am out on that road. You would never expect somebody to come down through there with a truck 50 miles an hour. And that's just my estimation.
Just to add to that, the reason we're seeing that much traffic is the big trucks are using that way so they don't get down Clothespin Bridge and go across the bridge. They're going all the way down Pleasant Street, come out of Dingett's Corner and go around.
I'm talking Allen Road, Chief.
Yeah, I'm saying they go down Allen Road,
And they
down
shouldn't be
to
going
Pleasant
down that
Street,
road.
down
Yeah.
Pleasant Street to go,
Yeah.
so they can't go down Clothespin Bridge because of the weight of the bridge.
And they should be going down.
Speaking of your point for residential only access, I know that we were going to be setting up the commission for road stuff, for dealing with the reaffirmation of the speed limits and such that we didn't have. Let's add that to the agenda on that and make sure that that actually happens.
Thank you. I mentioned to Sue I was gonna mention that tonight, so I'm not, I don't go around bringing information from the neighborhood here if I don't get the approval to do that. But I think that needs to be considered. Maybe there are some other roads, and I haven't outlined those, or haven't identified that, but a committee would be able to do it. Signage is needed. I mean, that's a street that we should probably have 25-mile-per-hour road signs on. That's accurate with the state speed limit, correct?
Yep.
So they can
The
enforce it.
town has the authority to change that.
Okay, you know what I'm saying, so they can enforce it, and there's a lot of signage that needs to be rehabilitated in town, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
All these things add to the public safety issue. Without dwelling on that, I think I've made my point, without beating that to death tonight. But the speeds are unbelievable. Chief, what are you stopping them at, 60, 65, 70, and 35 mile per hour?
All the time. Well, out on Battle Street, the average stop is 55 to 60. And we've written tickets as high as 80.
I mean, I think the day of going 10 and 15 miles over the speed limit, as you heard, the legislature just recently tried to, and I don't know if they approved that or not, but the 10 mile over the speed limit, and that's crazy on some streets. You go in Concord, you put it 10 miles over the speed limit up near Center Street and some of those neighborhoods. That's crazy. You've got kids and pets and people jogging and walking.
They're trying to change the speed limit on the interstates to 80.
To what, 80?
To 80.
What are they,
That'll-
crazy? The
that'll be a
people are going
nightmare.
80 already.
Well, if you're going 80, you're going slow in traffic.
Well, that's why sometimes getting these things motivated in town government are very favorable. Let's not dwell on that. I'm sure there's other people who want to speak tonight, maybe. The other thing's concerning me on my list, and it's last and not least, and probably a big concern to many in town. I know you've had complaints come before you. Junkyards. What are we doing about the junk heaps in this town? And you and I have talked about this. Do you have a code that's to be approved, or where is that right now?
We had a meeting not very long ago about code enforcement, and of course, the current zoning that we have now, some of it does not apply to some junkyards. Obviously, there are state laws and et cetera, but it does need to be addressed in many instances.
Well,
And I think that, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Part of the discussion during budget time is to find a code enforcement person that can dedicate time to that.
Who is the fellow down we have? Isn't he a code enforcement?
We have Tom Bay, but it's more of the building inspector and the electrical inspector and things like that.
He didn't seem to want anything to do
So,
with the
and he
code
doesn't-
enforcement.
He's more of a, the way that we've kind of phrased it is he's the code inspector. He's not like an enforcement officer.
Well, you know, everybody refers back to the failed attempt, and Dee's memory probably is just as well as mine is right here. But this place down here on the intersection of 127 and 103, you know, you had a liberal attorney that was trying to work with you, and you had a liberal judge, and neither one of them wanted to do a damn thing. That thing is within 36-foot yellow line, it keeps growing out there. I've had people in Hopkinton complain to me about it. I've got business owners, there's business owners in Hopkinton think it's atrocious. And that's a Warner Webster situation. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, Lancaster just took a guy to jail for
I
what?
think it's got all three.
$100,000?
Really, I don't, I'm not familiar.
Well, I gave you the article, remember?
I'm sorry, I don't, but, yeah.
Okay, well, they just had a guy fined for $100,000, one of the towns up north. I mean, we haven't taken anybody to court on anything, have we, if I recall correctly?
I think we tried many years
But
ago.
Well,
that-
The judge
yes.
was such a
Thank you.
wimp.
But has that, what I say when we say this all the time, is that lapsed? But I think it's this three town thing, I mean, he's already made a couple messes in Warner and got away with
I
it
didn't know
there.
that, yeah.
And so, but with that being said, who spends the money and the time, which I do think it's important because it is horrible, it's a health issue, if anything. You know, we had people complaining about rats, because, you know, rats like water and like food and they don't mind swimming.
We're trying to sell
And-
your house across the road.
That's right, that's right,
Yeah.
that's right. So, I mean, I don't even know, how do we now go, I know in the planning board, we've talked about it on several occasions, but
Well,
who moves forward to see, okay, and who spends the money, all right, always comes down to money, to find out where the judgment lies at this point. It could have, I believe he's out of compliance to what, but I don't know that, cause I'm not an attorney and I wasn't part of that whole thing, but I've heard such that he's out of compliance to what the ruling was, but I don't know, who's got the most,
Who's supposed to enforce
Well,
it?
That's right,
Marlo,
yeah.
I'm just using that.
but I agree with you 100%.
I'm using that as the old, you know, every time we talk about code
I
enforcement,
know,
I'll say, well, you know what happened 20 years ago. I don't care what happened 20 years ago.
agreed,
You know what you need is a code enforcement officer with some guts, good writing skills, and someone who will take these people to court, and one time around, somebody goes to court and gets fined $20,000, or he's gonna have to pay $20,000. That's gonna put an end to some of the rest of it. And I think that's the example, and you know, when you start looking at the budget, I hate to say it, but that's the kind of thing you need, because these junkyards, I mean, you had somebody in here several months ago, and I know the chief spoke up, you don't even use the towing service, because they're not doing it legally. Am I hearing correctly on that?
We haven't used them, no.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have junk cars in the yard. We've got a $500,000 house across the road. And Webster is starting to see some real nice homes being put in, and that's a tax base. And to me, that should outweigh any junkyard.
But
and the efforts to
technically,
do
I
it.
think it's in Warner, so they don't see it,
Well,
so they don't
I'm
complain.
not just
That's-
talking
that's
about
the
that
thing,
one,
yeah.
Dee. I'm talking about
Oh,
generally.
in general, yeah.
We've had a lot of them crop up. And I'm not gonna go like this, but we could go like this. Okay?
So,
I'm sorry, I think it is important to have a code enforcement person, and we have had some success, very limited, by, the board has been very liberal of letting Russ and myself go to the attorney with some of these things.
The zoning board, or we talking?
We're talking about this board.
Okay, all right. Because I keep getting pointed to the zoning board.
Yeah,
I'm just-
well, I mean, the zoning board obviously is, they're not the
So-
enforcement.
yeah, so,
and-
just for the sake of trying to clarify for everybody, hopefully this helps when people listen to what's going on and what goes where. The first thing I do is to clarify that there's a difference between a junkyard and a junkie yard. And I know that that is unfortunately extremely fraught legal separation from my time working, trying to come up with an appropriate junkyard ordinance back with Sue Roth and others when I was on the planning board. It eventually turned into we can't actually do the things that we want because of whatever the legal reasons were when they got their legal advice. I know that the planning board has brought it up a couple times more recently. Their job would be to put forth new zoning to be voted on by the voters, who would then approve it if we were to be trying to enforce further things than we currently can. The select board that's sitting here in front of you, we are the enforcement by allowing the attorney to write letters to allow our staff to use the funds to go to the attorney and to send out the code inspector to write up his supporting arguments and then give them to the attorney and so on. And that's where fines and cease and desist and so on would come from. The ZBA, which is also represented to the left, they're typically the, hey, I want to do this, or if you wanted to go do a properly run junkyard, you could talk with them and they would be able to work through that process, and then that's all within existing zoning, within existing code, within state stuff and the certifications from the state. So there are different levels. We've actually tried somewhat recently, a couple times, back when I was on the planning board, towards coming up with those. And I believe you folks have looked at trying to do that and maybe are looking at it again. But just so that everyone has a full picture of like all of the different boards are involved, but in different ways with what each one's kind of responsible for. Go ahead.
The other point I was going to make, which is where a person who follows through and is able to take the time to do that, it is so important to have the facts correct and to be able to go to court with the proper facts. And I hate to say, I've been at court more times than I want to and been told to, you know, pick it up and go home because, you know, this stuff is just this guy's inventory. And things like that. So it's been, and like if you get a liberal judge, as you know, John, it doesn't always go the way you think it does. But that's my suggestion is I think that getting someone who can follow through with these, that can check and see that someone has adhered to the rules. I think it's very helpful if you have examples that people can see, wait a minute, they're cracking down on this, I could be next. I think that would help.
I think you're right. I think one or two times around with a good compliant person,
Yeah.
very capable of compliance and how to follow through the process. Yes, writing reports is very important, because those reports are gonna take,
Right.
and as you know, compliance and civil processes
Yeah,
are much,
exactly.
much different than criminal, but with the same type of responsibility, but it takes
Right,
more.
right.
But I mean, I think you need to get somebody on board, that needs to be in the budget, you need to think about that, from my opinion. Some of these places look disgusting, and it's our image, it's our community. And those of us who pay taxes every year and keep our yards looking nice, and I think pretty much everybody in this room does that, get very offended when we go by these places, or in some cases where people have to tolerate looking at this stuff every morning when they get up for coffee outside the window. And again, without me going like this, but I think you know. And there are other violations too. I mean, it's not just junkyards, it's propane tanks hung off trailer roofs and things like that. And, you know, the fire, you know, I know the fire chief has concerns with some of those things. Those are my thoughts on that. In fact, those are my total thoughts this evening. I would like to see you do something about helping them get someone on board. I've offered a couple suggestions. I think there's many people in town that could help you writing grants, if Steve needs a hand with that. You know, not that Steve can't do it, but those safety grants are easy. Cops grants are difficult, but getting that third person to fill in that position is essentially important. And if you gotta buck up with a checkbook, you know something, we're gonna have to do that, because that's the only way we're gonna get something. We're competing, and I would look at a 1, 3, 5-year employee. You're not gonna get somebody in here for 1 to 5 years. You don't get somebody to drive a truck for more than 1 year, right?
Feels that way lately.
Well, I'm not saying that to be degrading, I'm saying that to be sincere. You know, you need, this thing about a cop staying in one place for 20 years, You know, I never stayed in one place in 20 years. It doesn't mean, but that was a much different time period. Now you can't get police officers to stay for 5 years. If you get them to stay for 3 without somebody stealing them away from you, you're doing well. So, chief, you feel free to add to that one, but, you know.
That's what it comes down to, and I mean, I hate to say something like a sign-on bonus, but that's the big, huge thing right now.
It's a
And
reality.
That's what usually keeps them for at least 3 years, because if it's a $15,000 sign-on bonus, it's, you know, 1/3 of it up front, a third at the end of the first year, or should I say, a third at the end of the first year, a third at the end of the second year, and a third at the end of the third year, so that keeps them here for at least 3 years.
Not at this point in my career would I ever want to do it, but I could walk into Franklin Police Department tomorrow, apply, hopefully get hired, get a $10,000 sign-on bonus and make $45 an hour as a retired police officer, running a cruiser around the streets of Franklin. That's what you're competing against. And that's retiree. He or I.
Absolutely.
Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Chief. But it's something we need to address. We need a police officer out there in those other hours. So nobody really knows when there's a police officer out there. And I think that would be a good psychology for the town to have. Because right now, we don't have that. And they can't do it all. They do a great job, but they can't do it all. Thank you for listening. I hope I haven't pinged the conscience of anybody tonight, but, you know, I'm one of those guys that likes to speak as it is. That's the way I feel about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to add to John's. My name's Alexis Janot. I've lived in Webster here for about 17 years. I live on Battle Street. And I've been to the police station now twice this year. First time ever in 17 years, fortunately. First time in a select board meeting. I've also contacted the sheriff. So I'm a longtime runner. You may have seen me on the road. I've run all 17 years. I've been here. I'm a walker, I'm a biker. The last 2 years, I've had to jump out of the road at least 4 or 5 times. I have had so many close calls with someone trying to hit me, either not paying attention or just going too fast. I don't allow my kids to walk on Battle Street. In fact, I don't allow them to walk anywhere in Webster. In Webster, of all places, it's not safe. And so I understand the concern with hiring and finding staff for the police department. I 100% support that. But onboarding takes a while. And so I'm wondering if, just speaking candidly, if we could bias action here and do something at a more community level, whether it's sending letters out to our neighbors. There are a handful of business owners in this community who are driving work trucks very fast across the house. Can we contact those business owners and ask them and encourage their staff to slow down? Chuck Rose is one of them. I see those trucks going by. I'm just wondering if there's more that we can do to support the police and being a community with neighbors, trying to pull us all together to save a life, because at some point someone will die on Battle Street.
Thank you. What thoughts on that, whether it would
She's
help or
100%
make
right.
it worse?
The thing I find though is the majority of our traffic that we see early in the morning, because we're both out here at 6 a.m. The other week, Phil came out at 5, and we've been trying to stagger it to come out even earlier, because we're getting the commuter traffic coming through, heading to Lebanon or heading south. They're flying, and they don't slow down for nothing. But it's not the in-town residents, it's the commuter traffic going through. They're using this as a byway now, a lot, especially get to 89. And they're staying off from the side roads. They're going, 127's a newly paved road, so speeds are up there. And Route 4 is even worse. Thank God we don't have to travel Route 4. And we're stopping them all the time for speeds. But she's 100% right. The trucks, a lot of truck traffic, and you're right, there are logging trucks mainly. A lot of logging trucks going through, and they're full. Early in the morning, late in the afternoon, and they don't slow down for nobody. Prime example, I ended up stopping one up on Route 4, headed to Canada. Full loaded logging truck with a tail on the back loaded 93 miles an hour on Route 4. just past the Four Corners, heading down over the long hill. And I got state police to come up with their truck unit, and he went to jail and the truck got towed.
Oh, jeez.
So, it's the commuter traffic going through. And a lot of Canadian loggers going through here all the time, we see them every day.
They're always trying to make time.
Oh, absolutely, they're trying to get to Canada as fast as they can.
Those signs on, you know, that flash what the speed limit you're going, do they do any good?
And we
Wake
had one
people
that we
up.
shared with Hopkinton, what happened with that?
We still have it, right now we're waiting for a part for it.
How about those ones that
It's
just
no use.
stand, just so you can, especially in the
Yeah,
school
the
zones?
smaller ones, well, we
Yeah.
tried to get Merrimack Valley to put up 2 of the solar powered ones for out here.
Yeah.
And they said they're going to when they get the funds, but right now they're sticking with just the flashing light. Bosquen got 4 of them through a grant, and I'm trying to find out from the chief where he got the grant, because we haven't seen one, we've been looking for them. But they're like $3,500 a piece for just that one little sign.
Jeez.
Yeah, his grant was like $12,000 for 4 of them.
And they move them around, like you've seen them on the main drag down there.
Yep.
You've seen them going to and from Boston on the side roads, and I've been following people down the roads and they see it and.
They don't pay any attention to it. They see how
Actually,
fast
no,
it
they
is.
see it and they see how high they can get it quickly. They'll speed up
That's
to go
true.
past the sign and then slow back down again.
That's why they took the one off in 93 that was on Interstate 93, because the kids were going to see how fast they could get it to go.
Oh, jeez.
So as.
See, for the
as
old
de-
people,
as
you see it and you go,
deterrent, It's not deterrent.
You know?
The rest of them say, let's see how far we can go.
So can I just circle back to like the ask, like, I'm assuming, as a leadership group, like, do we have the opportunity to send like just a simple mailing, like the old home days letter that everyone in the community received, asking and talking about speed? Like, do we have the ability to look at local companies that are registered in this area, reach out to the business owners and ask them to talk to their staff about reducing their speed? I mean, I can, a handful of trucks, I know their names, they drive by every day, they're driving outrageously. Like, that's something I think that may add some value.
We can take out an ad in the local paper.
Mhm. Yes.
So capitalizing on what Alexis is saying, and I didn't want to take the full stage if you don't. But what about an app? What about getting an app that people like us, citizens in Webster, can put it on our phone? And let me give you an example. I happened to talk to Phil, the lieutenant, last week, and probably there was an accident up there on 127 where a bull got hit. That bull was missing for over a week in Webster. There's no way for the police department to get that information out there to citizens. You know, they put it on a billboard down here, but that's probably not gonna be effective. But it might be nice if you looked into, with the police department, with the fire chief, an app that we could have on our phone, and if they needed to get a message out to the public, they could get it out to the public. And I would bet you a good portion of this community would put that app on his phone, and it would not be expensive for the community to do that. There's many of those companies out here where you could get that service. So I'm just throwing out, and I think Alexis's point about getting some notification out. I mean, I didn't want to get into the weeds, but I will tell you, I've seen the same thing. We were out walking the dog yesterday in a damn truck, a local guy that comes by us, he's doing 45 and 50 miles an hour on that road I keep talking about, Allen Road. There's no need of it. You know, there's no need of it. So, something to get the message, consistent message, because you know what I'm saying? One message is nice, but something where there could be consistency over a period of time. Had we have known about that bull, I'm not saying it would have saved the bull, unfortunately nobody got hurt, but 800-pound bull coming through the windshield could have killed somebody. And it would just, you know, in the area, it would slow people down, you know, this was missing on 127 in this area by this farm, be careful. And if they could get those messages of their concerns out there, or the fire chief, you know, you and I had a discussion about this road being closed. Not everybody looks on the Webster Facebook. And, you know, I was a little hot that day, because it was, meaning hot was, my tempo was up a little bit, because there was no way to get that information out there. And putting signage on Friday morning doesn't alert people on Monday morning. And Steve's right, we have a ton of people go through here, commute through.
So there is one similar to that, because the school uses it.
Mhm.
to notify the parents
Yep.
that school's closed for the day, and it goes right to their cell phones.
Yep. Well, maybe, again, please don't think I'm a community partner here, but maybe partnering with somebody for that information. I mean,
I'll stop over at the school and find out
You know
what
what
they
I'm saying?
use, who they use.
just a thought, just a thought. 'Cause I
They
think
just, they
she's
sign
right.
up for it.
The message
They
needs to
just
get
sign
out.
up for it, and we can get anybody that has a cell phone to sign up for it, and we can post it anywhere. The
Yeah,
town can post it
so there's
anywhere they want
a
it
few
put out.
things there, and obviously payments and vendors and budgeting and stuff aside, there are usually a few different ways that you can do it. One is what I think generally the school uses, which is you get the phone list and then you have a platform that will basically text out to all of the numbers. I believe at one point in time, Pillsbury Lake has actually used one similar, though they found that adoption was extremely low, and most people did not sign up with their phone numbers to use it and to get notified. We have on the website the same thing, where if people sign up for notifications with their email address, when we make a notification, when we make a major alert, etc., it goes out to everybody's email address that has signed up to receive those. Lots of people think it's a great idea, but again, we have very low usage of that. There is the actual app method, but then you're trying to get people to install apps. You're dealing with multiple different phone vendors. We have people in town that have no cell phone, or especially don't have cell phone service. And so that has its own set of things, as well as continual payments for updating apps for the newer version of something, and oftentimes that outdates what people currently had. So I'm not saying none of these are things we can do, they're all things we could do, but trying to find and strike the right balance and what is going to make the most sense. If there were to be some sort of an app, then I think it should actually be a little bit more encompassing. Instead of, hey, it's a notification, it should be like, click here to report that like somebody just flew past me, click here to report that there's animals out on the road, click here to report what you believe is a code violation so we can look into it. And so if that is encompassed in the app, and there are some apps that do that, specifically for municipalities. Many of them are tied to web platforms which are designed for cities, so they're much more expensive, but things like that do exist already, and so we can certainly look into it. Not a topic here, but this ties into it, is our website is a bit outdated. They are in the process of looking at what is going to happen in order to update it, and the platform that we are using in its updated form may offer some of those features as things that we could tack on and pay for. I know many of the competing platforms also do that, and those are all things that we will be hopefully looking at, I believe, next summer. So as we move into that season, we can look at updating all of that. That doesn't address it now, of course, but that is a way to do it and to put it in towards budgets and everything else so that we can actually target it.
So can we get back to, very good points made, can we get back to what we're saying?
So,
We as a town get some information out to start slowing people down.
so on the website page, the Facebook page, or I've actually seen too where I'll have like something pop up in my Facebook for like Ringe Police, somebody's missing or something like that. Not quite sure why me, I get Ringe stuff, but probably worked down there or something and gave my email and I got it, or, phone number. But is there, does our police station doesn't have do they have a Facebook page?
Yep.
Is that something we could,
We can post it right on there too.
yeah, and just because I do think people, and our Webster Facebook page, definitely, would you link it to it or something?
So
Or-
we actually don't have an official Webster
Oh, so what is?
Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
We've got the website, and there
No,
are
so what-
several groups that are community
Okay.
run, but there is no official Webster Facebook page.
So could they do,
But there is official Webster Police, there is official Webster Fire.
Fire, yeah.
I believe there's official Webster Old Home Day, there's official, a couple different things for the school. So they exist, and there are some pretty good community-based groups. With a future web platform, we can very easily look into when you create and put a notice up on the website, it would automatically post to a Facebook group because a lot of people get their information that way. You could do the same sort of thing with the X platform, previously Twitter. And so there are several tools that you do this, it will automatically post here. The challenge with that is that if you don't allow comment and communication back, nobody bothers to use them, look at them, or care. And if you allow comment and basically talk back and forth, they need somebody that is a social media staff person in town to constantly be replying, managing, making sure that this is not a comment that is, you know, spam advertising or a scam or something. So there's a lot involved if you want to do more than just, you can subscribe here and Facebook, since you're not interacting with it, Facebook won't show it to you after a month anyway. So.
I wonder if there's a more low-tech, simpler approach to start with. I'm just thinking kind of forward here, we're coming up on election day, we've got a huge amount of turnout. Wonder if that's an opportunity to just print out a simple piece of paper and start a conversation face-to-face with neighbors, because that's gonna get more throughput than a passive delivery of, you know, whether someone sees it in Facebook or something like that. I mean, having the chief there, I mean, that seems like a place to start. You've got a lot of people turning out for election day.
We gotta get the message
Be a
out.
huge turnout.
We gotta get it out
Yep.
sooner than later. It's only a matter of time, and I hate to say that because it could be any one of us in.
I like these ideas. What is the best way to move forward for having people look at and think about what of these ideas should be implemented and when, and how we would budget for it if it's more than like printing a sign for election day?
Well, I mean, and again, this will take some thought, I think, to know what the best thing to do, but I do like the low-hanging fruit method with getting the word out for voting. A lot of people coming for that. We certainly could, you know, write a letter or have the board write a letter, put it on the website. We could do a mailing. Again, that costs a little bit of money. That probably costs $600 or $700 by the time we're done with the postage. And we could take property lists and checklists to get names and addresses, so that wouldn't be out of the question. So there's a few different types of things we can do, and I think that you really should try as many of them as you can. Get it out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You know, but,
Well, I will have a newsletter coming out for October
you know, we
for
could,
that.
I was gonna say we can include it with the tax bills.
You wanna rubber that?
Wait a minute.
Maybe that's not a good idea.
You could say,
Actually,
it's gonna
that's
go up
perfect.
if you don't slow down.
Slow down, or we need to
Like
increase the
8 more
police
hours,
budget.
yeah.
Slow down, or the police budget increases and your taxes go up.
Now, like, the people that are doing the fast driving are really gonna care about.
No, most of them aren't here, but the few that are would hopefully notice something.
And if they
But-
see something, they may say something. That's
Yeah.
what we're looking at. If you see it, report it. If we can get plate numbers, we know who we're looking for.
And it's been mentioned a couple times, like, you know, whether it's the propane hanging off the top of a something, or someone speeding in this area, or a particular known company and known truck that does something. We have official complaint forms. Please fill one out. You can get it from the website, or the office will be happy to provide it for you. Fill it out, say where the problem is, and then we have concrete information that we can send somebody to go look at and to document it and move forward with the process. So please, on the see something, say something side, please actually do say something with the complaint form so we have an official way to easily move it forward. All right. Anything further on this?
Thank you for listening, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much for coming. All right. That moves us on to old business, town hall maintenance.
Well, here I am with the town hall maintenance, and you heard the good news about the heating system and the tree. The bad news is I haven't been able to get another quote on this back porch thing.
How much,
And
what do you have for a quote now?
5,500.
What are they replacing it with? Pressure treated or standard and painted or what?
You know, I didn't bring the quote with me, so I probably should look at that before I give you an answer on that, but
That would be another one where just spending more on doing it with Trex, so we don't have
Yeah,
to think about it
Trex,
again.
right. Something you have to worry about for 20 years.
well, I mean, and that's, I
Because
think
people
that-
don't use it, people don't maintain it, but it is our emergency exit. And that way, people won't need to look at it and maintain it, and it will still be fine in 30, 40 years.
And we also have the front steps that need attention. So
Yeah.
here we are, we can have both done at the same time.
Right.
But I can see if I can get a quote from this vendor for Trex, they call it?
Yeah,
So-
Trex, it's,
so
Like
Trex is the
it
name
a
brand.
plastic, one of those heavy?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Trex
mean,
is the name
it doesn't
brand.
have to be
Yeah.
Trex.
There are several similar, it's basically composite board that's designed to, it's
Withstand the elements.
partially plastic, partially wood pulp, etc., so that it doesn't rot, it doesn't have problems with freeze thaw, it doesn't split apart, etc.
You know, I think that's a good idea, but I just make one comment. I think that has been out there since 1990. So,
Well, and it might be a swing in the price, but we should know if it's pressure treated or.
Yeah.
I imagine,
One
I
with a
hope it's
hole,
pressure
I was gonna
treated,
say, Dave, let's
but-
I
hope.
imagine it, but I never say anything unless I know. for
Right.
sure.
So get that and then we'll.
Okay, so I'll be back. I'll still try to get another, and I'll
have
try to
community
get a
deck
quote
doing.
for Trex, or,
composite board.
thank you, composite board. Let me get the right terminology.
5,500 would be pretty cheap to go down to Home Depot and get some pre-done stair parts and throw them on.
How big is it?
'Cause
It's
the-
really only, I mean, it's a
the-
platform, oh, and then the door needs to be replaced too.
That's true, the door is part of
The
that, right?
door and the door casing.
Did they
is-
break the quote? Well, can you just bring the quote next time?
Yeah, I would love to.
Because it does include the door itself
Yeah.
as well as the door.
I'm sorry, I should have brought it with me tonight.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good help
I
is so
should
hard
go
to
look,
find.
I never.
It's basically okay, except that the boards on top, like most decks, you can step through them.
I'm gonna have that problem not very long ago.
So, I mean, it's these things that I really would encourage that we get fixed.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know.
And
Yeah, we
move
want
forward
to.
on.
Yeah, and I know you do, I'm not saying that.
For something like that, it's, especially when, like, if we go look at the quote and say that it's reasonable, do we need like more official, something other than we wanna move forward and unless you get a better quote, let's,
At this
Try to
point
do
in
it or
time,
what?
I would run like crazy to the vendor. Yeah, I mean,
okay.
yeah, it's always nice to have it very efficient.
So-
Did you say you run to the vendor? Yeah.
So let you continue down town hall maintenance, and then possibly, once we get to something that maybe Russ is talking to us about, you can get that and we can look at it and see if we can't move forward.
Okay, all right. So those are really the big items, I think, with town hall maintenance, is the outside, the painting. I'm still waiting to get a quote on the painting versus the cement board. And I don't have a quote on vinyl siding, but I could get that.
A bunch of the other portions of the building are vinyl sided, so
I know,
it would make sense as a quote.
To do
Yeah.
vinyl,
Yeah.
yeah.
I I'm sure there will have to be discussions about the aesthetic and stuff at that point, but it's at least worth having the quote so that we know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Do we have other topics in town hall maintenance?
No, I guess, I am going to the CIP this week. I've got a few, CIP applications that I've put in. One has to do with the kitchen. The kitchen is also a 1990s kitchen and it's getting pretty shabby. Again, I realize tax dollars are precious, et cetera, but, we have a kitchen that hasn't been looked at for 34 years. We have new stoves and we have a new refrigerator. And I did get a quote for new cabinets, which is really just a placeholder to go through to the CIP with. And the other thing that I'm going to be bringing up, and I don't know if this is, the building, I would love to see a space study somehow to make the building more efficient. The town administrator's office really should be back where the tax collector is and the finance, and they should be down on the main floor. The clerk's office is somewhat inadequate, and this is not gonna happen while I'm here, I'm sure. But I think it's planning for the future, we should be thinking about it. So that's really all my thoughts on maintenance.
Okay, any other comments? I guess when you reach out to, the vendor about this, and asking for a similar work quote, but with the composite, also include the front as well,
Okay.
so that we can get those taken care of.
Yeah, cause he hadn't.
Those have to be taken care of before
The front step.
anything, and that really should be taken care
You
of.
know, that
before
was,
anything.
the select board were the greeters, and I don't know how that could happen while you were greeting.
I know. Well, they kept telling us, get back inside.
But I will, thank you. Just giving you a hard time.
All right, 2025 budget schedule is next, unless there is other old business that is not listed.
I sent you the 25, my suggested budget schedule, and I guess I just let you have it in the event you think it should be changed or rearranged, or I hate to think of the 25 budget already, but here we are. Let's see. So, and I sent it out to department heads and everything, and I assume department heads, I haven't heard from anyone saying that it's not a convenient time for them. Although I know Steve's gonna be getting more figures,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I did put Emmett at the last meeting, cause I think that helps him a little bit.
I was actually gonna suggest that we move him earlier, because we tend to need him to come back with more information.
I
Okay.
second that.
And I'd like to not run into the new year when that happens.
All right. I will change places with him on November 4th, I guess.
I mean, like the,
Yeah, because he'll already be here for fire then, so,
Yeah.
and
mean,
other
these-
public safety with Steve.
And I'll put government buildings down to,
Wait, you said no.
number 4.
Oh, general government buildings is the first one I see it. Yep, that makes sense. Unless you can cover the general government buildings in one of the earlier ones,
oh, I probably could.
because October 7th doesn't have much. 'Cause all of those will be super short, I'm sure.
I probably could do that.
It might be, yeah, October 7th, and
Um,
even like the library and and I mean, I don't know much about the energy committee, but the library, I don't know what kind of budget they.
Yeah, the energy-
Even cemeteries.
Energy
just-
committee will be all of 3
I
to
mean,
5
but
minutes.
many of these are very, very short.
Well, that's, yeah, I think that's what we're saying,
You
could put
know,
a couple of the short ones in
Little
the,
small, and to be honest, I don't think the library would be ready for the early.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking this,
I could certainly ask them.
then I
And
thought.
the library is typically easy for us, but the trustees have to go through their process
Okay,
first.
okay, fair enough.
Um,
Don't know what they have to do on their side
the-
necessarily.
Yeah, the energy committee could easily be moved earlier, probably the same for conservation commission, cemeteries, parks and rec. I mean, all of those could easily move, and, cause they're generally short and generally
The same amount.
give
or
me the
whatever.
same thing,
Yeah.
but I want more for this tree to be taken care of or something of that nature.
So are you saying that if you moved them from the 18th, you would move, what would you move to the 18th in its place?
I wouldn't necessarily suggest moving anything to the 18th in its place. I would suggest that by moving things forward, we allow for if something has to slip, or if somebody doesn't show up, or if somebody has a question and needs more information, or something of that nature. So the more front-loaded we can do it, the better, and then it's also less during holiday seasons for everybody. The second thought and concern there is, of course, the to be determined at the end. So front-loading is always great because we can push things back towards the original schedule if we need to slot them in. Or we have the opening for something like November 18th, which they can definitely have been told, make sure you go through your processes in your budget committee so that we can all talk concrete numbers.
I've been somewhat careful in the sense that I wanna make sure people have enough time to talk about their budgets.
Right.
And, but some of the smaller ones, we certainly
Yeah.
can push up. That's not an issue.
Well, for the most part, then they're kind of out of the way, so that if
Mhm.
people like fire or the police, you know, they gotta come
Yeah.
back one more time, then we're not.
Personnel administration and insurances, I can do that as soon as I have the information, but usually.
Well, they like to give that like last minute, don't they? That's when I get mine.
Well, that's why I'm so.
But I think
Well,
what,
and
I'm
that's
going
also like
along.
whatever they tell us is what we're gonna do, so
Yeah.
for us, it's a
Yeah.
couple minutes of, well, that sucks, but that's the budget.
Right, but I do think these, the ones that are
Yeah.
fairly simple, I agree with you, front load a little bit so that we have a little wiggle room here.
And for several of these, like Energy Committee, Parks and Rec, cemeteries, when they're, unless they're asking for like a bunch more, or justifying trying to keep the more that they got. For example, the Conservation Commission had an increase last time. So if they're trying to keep that, they should probably come in and talk to us. But otherwise, if it's, yeah, the same is fine because we go to a conference or something of that nature, like the Energy Committee, or, you know, or it pays for our, why am I missing the term? When we're part of a group or an organization, any of those sorts of things, or, yeah, I need X amount to be able to take care of the cemeteries like I always do, those sorts of things. As much as I'm very happy to see them and talk to them, we don't really have to have them all come in person all the time.
Well, and again, I think it's important for people to understand how the budget works.
Yes.
And to have a buy-in. I hear what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think it's good for a department head or a committee head or to
Yes.
come in and explain why they need the money that they need. And,
And what they did last year.
and, you know, or maybe why they didn't spend the money that they had been appropriated last year, or why, that's just my thought.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense.
I would agree with you.
So I still think, well,
But I'll rearrange it.
yeah,
and-
I
and then
still
I'll-
think the more, then that way, they've done it, like you said, they've come in, they've said what they needed.
Yeah, and
We
the,
get- and
and the
that's
other thing
behind
that I think
us.
is really important, and I know I harp on this, but if the board is not going to go with what they suggest, it's very important to have that dialogue
Yeah, and have time to bring
Yeah,
them back.
and have time to
Yes.
do it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I would love to have us in a place where, before people are getting ready to leave for their December holidays, we have like, this is probably what the budget's going to be.
I think last year it actually went
And we
very
got
well.
kind of close.
Considering that, you know, I mean, you were away for the month of December, I think it was. But I thought it went fairly well. And you were able to schedule some time for lack of a better word, rebuttal. But I'll rework that,
Yes.
make it little front loaded.
Oh my God.
Steve, can you come tomorrow?
He's-
We can do that.
Okay. Anything further on the budget schedule? Anything further on new business?
No.
All right, that moves us into correspondence, of which we have plenty that's interesting.
So, one of your correspondence letters was the letter from the DOT, which I kind of put in my announcement as far as the dollar amount. The invitation for the bids, which, as I mentioned, we had.
Did they tell you not to do a a mandatory? Why?
He was suggested, this was Greg Goodrich at
Yeah,
VHB
yeah.
that suggested that it be a non-mandatory
Oh.
meeting. Many projects that I've dealt with have been mandatory.
I know,
meetings
that's
with
what I was
person
thinking, yeah.
Has to come and so forth, but, he didn't feel that was necessary. So I'll be very curious of who's here next week.
Is somebody gonna take them out to the project?
Yes, Greg will be here next week.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to be in 2 places at that time, but I'll be here.
Okay. Well, aren't you tricky?
Well, I'm fast.
Yeah.
Anyway.
As long as the police don't catch you being fast.
No, well, believe me.
Do we need to send you a letter?
Yeah,
We know where you live.
that's right, you do.
You like telling my jokes. you-
I'm very excited that we're here. I mean, this has taken a long time, and I've heard everything
Oh, this is
about how
awesome.
there's no steel and this,
Oh,
this,
yeah,
and this,
yeah,
that.
right.
No, this part with that, now
But
you're gonna get the
we're getting there.
bid, you're gonna,
Finally.
that almost confirms it, that's gonna actually happen.
And my favorite thing about this project, I hope the board will give some thought of who we can sell the bridge to. Because that's part of the prerequisites of trying to sell the bridge.
The one that's rotted out?
That's the one.
Oh,
That's
oh.
the one.
Well,
Just used very, only was used Sunday.
I will say I'm very happy and surprised that the bid due date is as
yeah,
quick as it is from now.
Right.
But I love it, so we can actually start doing something.
Right.
and most of the time, if they want it, they'll be on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's hope they're not like finding a police officer or a truck driver, but they have that same problem, so.
Give me that budget,
Well,
and I'll find
you-
you all kinds of them.
You know, talking about everything that's been talked about tonight, it all leads back to staffing.
Yeah.
You know, you
It all
can
comes
kill
back to
it
that.
from here to China, and it's back to staffing.
Absolutely.
And,
That's where it comes down.
And we all know, I don't think it's a bad idea, you know, like posting little things, just reminding them, hey, but they need that thing they're gonna pay, and
You need that thing that says, oh, my insurance is gonna go up, so it's gonna cost me more than just the ticket.
unfortunately, that stinks, cause
Yeah.
you know, and you'd almost like to set it up that you start out by, hey, we're gonna slow you down. Here's your one and only.
Well, that's the good thing about having the computers in the car. So if I stop somebody for, I don't know, running a stop sign, I can, as soon as I punch their name in, it tells me when they were ever stopped before.
Yeah.
And so I can say, hey, you've had 2 warnings already. Guess what? This one's gonna be in a pink slip.
Yeah.
And
Which I think is
how can they
decent.
deny that? You know, it's like, you've already been told twice.
Yep. Anyways, I just kind of,
Yeah.
we're all like, you know, you're thinking about what just was said, and then, and we understand and we want to not see anybody get hurt. Okay, go ahead.
So anyway,
Sorry,
thank you.
sorry.
You said give me tape.
Squirrel.
We got the letter from, I had asked the DRA, the question you asked me last week regarding what the COD was and the PRD. And
You'd think they'd find different, verbiage than COD.
You know,
You know what I mean? It's like,
I think it takes a little bit of thought to understand it. If you're not an assessing person, it's not exactly very clear, but anyway, that was explained. The last meeting, you had asked me about if there was an agreement when the solar array was voted on, of who was gonna take care of it. So I just gave you a rundown of the town meeting records and what I could find on that. So that's nothing of surprise, and the answer is no, there really wasn't an agreement, for maintenance of the area. Notice from the ZBA and, thank you letter from CASA. New Hampshire Municipal Association, they're getting ready for what they're going to propose in legislature this year. So I gave you, those copies.
they're busy little bees.
So I don't see anything terribly
And I know
unusual.
they've sent when they're gonna do that, but,
That's gonna be the 27th of September.
okay. Yeah, I thought it was pretty quick.
Yeah. And that is all the correspondence.
Wait, talk about bombing for flies. Let's just hang some of
Yeah.
them sticky things up.
We've been
Yeah.
spending like, all day for the last week and a half killing
Do we have
flies.
some fly paper?
Like they put in the barn back.
Yeah,
in
no,
the
I'm
day.
not kidding. I'm not afraid of that either. And that stuff works the best. It's
does
gross,
its
but
job.
it works.
Just don't
It
run
does.
into it.
It
Right.
does its job and then you throw it out.
Hang it high.
When I was a kid, my mother would offer a penny for every 500 flies.
Oh, yeah.
And we fell for it.
Yeah, I don't have anybody that young.
Well, when it's the excuse for
was a
kids to run
different
around with
time.
a swatter.
Yeah, Dave's got him in all these places. He's
Oh, sorry, Marla.
Yeah, Chief, he would not do that.
Well, maybe as a 6-year-old. All right, and you said that's all the
That's all I have for
correspondence
correspondence, yeah.
then? All right, so that moves us on to public comment.
That's you, Dean.
The only public comment I have is, I just replaced a deck, and I used Fiberon, I think it was. And it was almost half of the price of Trex.
Wow. Oh, I'm sure there's cheaper,
And
same stuff.
both Home
which, yeah.
Depot and Lowe's have
I got
their
it
own
from,
home brand
I
of
got it from
Trex.
Home Depot.
Are you for hire?
It's gonna be nothing, because all you really have to place is the bottoms. And they're made, the ones I bought are made with they screw in.
Yeah.
And there's no tops, you put them on and you join them together and the screw goes down in between them so that
Yeah.
it holds them. And they have water and everything, you get down through them, they don't
Yep.
rot, and it's the same color as out there.
What did you call it, Fiberon?
I think it's Fiberon. I have the slips right at the house,
Okay.
I can show you.
I probably could email,
So you're a
Google it.
handyman and everything. You've been a police chief and a handyman.
That had the little clips
Some-
in between where they slotted.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. I put them down.
Clips in between.
My brother-in-law, yeah.
I think it's the same color. It's out there. So I just replaced it.
Good, because we're gonna need more money for
Alright.
the police budget.
And it's super rugged,
Uh-huh,
so that will work.
Fiberon, okay.
I think that's what it was.
Now you just gotta get the person to get the fiber on and put it in.
Oh, I'm sure we can find a handyman to do that.
Well,
Yeah. Well, no, but sometimes that's
If
you're
you
not
have
looking
any
for it.
names, please give
Yes.
them to Dana, because we've asked all of them.
I can get at least a couple of names to do that.
can you, that'd be
Perfect.
great, because I have
Because
an
that's
awful
about
time
all we
getting-
need, we don't need
Getting
a
anyone to talk to me.
full
I
It's
can do
either
that.
too, my job's too
Technically,
small, or,
meeting professional.
I'll talk to
It's
you
not
about it.
rocket science.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
I have two, Jason Rule and, I don't know, Donnie Brannigan in Webster still, but he helped me at my house. I mean, these aren't big, giant jobs, so he lives right in Webster. Jason, I have to get you his number.
Okay, all right, that'd be great.
Yeah, 'cause he's a good guy too. He's put a roof on my trailer and did a good job.
Any further public comment? All right, that moves us to motions and approvals. Has everybody had a chance to look at the meeting minutes?
Yes.
Are there any comments on the minutes?
They look good, and I think we should accept them.
Yes. Make a
Well,
motion.
Would you like to make a motion to that?
Yes,
effect?
wasn't that one? I make a motion to accept the good-looking minutes of the meeting.
Second.
From Seth.
Oh, you want me the date too, really? September 3rd, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that moves us to any other motions and documents and signing.
Okay, well, I have a question and a little bit of a problem that you could help me solve. We had, the safety building had, ceiling and striping, and we had striping here. I guess, was it discussed that you were gonna take the $89.95 that had been designated out of ARPA, that you were gonna take it out of impact fees instead?
So we had been talking about, the original was, and please correct me if I'm not remembering this.
Yeah.
The original was to be taken out of ARPA, and then we were thinking about ways that we can make the heating system here not that bad and make the ARPA stuff more one thing, so it's less paperwork, and that we actually use all of it this season quickly, so we don't lose any of it. And along the lines of not losing anything, we should take anything that we can out of impact fees whenever we can, instead of out of budget and funds.
Okay, well, I've just shot the less paperwork thing, cause I'm gonna have to reverse things we put through.
Okay.
So I was going to take $89.95 out of the, ARPA, and the remaining $5,055 out of the Public Safety Building Trust Fund. Do you still wanna take money out of the trust fund, or do you wanna have all the money come out of impact fees, which is available?
If we have all of it in impact fees,
That's what I
then
would
we
say.
should use impact
That's
fees.
right.
Okay,
sense.
could you do these motions for me, please?
Let's see. That,
And again, I have to take 500 for the town office out of here because it's impact fees.
does the last one need to be an official, put it like moving within ARPA funds to other ARPA funds?
I guess I just want it documented that you're changing the purpose that we had voted on before, that you had voted
Okay.
on before. That's all.
So I would move to withdraw the amount of $13,550 from impact funds assigned to the Public Safety Building for partial payment for driveway sealing and striping at the Public Safety Building, and to withdraw the amount of $500 from impact funds associated to the municipal office for driveway striping at the town building, the town hall, and to reaffirm that we are doing this in lieu of the originally suggested designation of $8,995 from ARPA funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That helps me a lot with the auditors. And I'll give this to you, Russ.
That's fine.
So you don't have to.
Just the look on your face.
And then I have the manifests for you. I have the
Page one.
Unitil bills. Oh, Marlo, I have the bills.
Oh, there you go, Marlo. Keep you out of trouble.
That's all I do at work.
And I have a timber.
So I have to question this one because I've never seen
Wow.
it done this way.
Okay.
$361 to increase petty cash.
This is for the town clerk.
Yes,
And,
I can see that. But
She-
the comment doesn't make sense to me.
She asked, for some reason, her petty cash was $139, which has gotten, that it's not enough for some of these registrations that she's dealing with, that people are paying cash to give change. So she's asking if she can have a petty cash of $500.
So this
And
is to
so-
have more cash in the
That's
register.
Yes, that's to increase
Okay.
that. And
That makes a lot more sense.
And what they're supposed to do when they need to replenish it is have us write a check, so we charge the right account or.
Okay, thank you.
offset it.
That makes a lot of sense, because every time I've heard petty cash, it's been like, here's the cash kitty when like we wanna go spend something quick out of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
office.
basically it's just for people that pay cash, so that as Mary's running around the office trying to
Perfect.
hit us up for,
Get everybody up to
what we
date.
get for money.
This is, I think, just all right, mostly elections. Concord Monitor, yeah, we had another ZBA thing. What's Core in Maine?
That is the culvert pipe for Emmett, yeah. That must be the,
Okay, one will be elections, one will be the. Home Depot Credit Services.
the bill's probably, Marla probably has the bill, and it's usually Brenda buys things for the maintenance.
Which one is it?
Home Depot Credit Services.
Make sure somebody's not buying new decking for their own house?
Told you, Russ, not to.
I'm, like, when I see this, I'm just like,
I'm just
why
kidding.
didn't we just use a credit card and purchase it for pickup or something, but.
Well, actually, that is our Home Depot credit card. Need more credit cards, we know what to do with them.
Let's see. Brushes, Roundup,
Roundup?
galvanized to reclaim the plow sandhorn.
What do we use Roundup for? Kill weeds. That's disgusting poison. That's not good to use.
They changed the,
Huh?
they changed the
Formula?
amount of- Yeah, the formula that they make it out of.
I don't trust them at all. That was really bad stuff.
I think that's all cemetery.
Well, they shouldn't be using it in the cemetery or anywhere else.
Well, everything else is dead there.
Huh?
Everything else is already dead there. I would assume it's probably for ants or something, ants, bees.
I don't know. I just know it's bad stuff.
It is bad stuff, and I
Yes.
think that was for, poison ivy at Clough Sanborn Cemetery.
Tell I don't use it anymore.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I just got this out.
Oh, that's right, Keith.
Oh, thanks.
That looks okay to me, so I can sign.
Oh, my name's on there. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, oh, you're very popular.
Oh, yeah, payroll.
This one too, Dave. And this one too.
Oh, yeah, intent to cuts.
And foot engaged.
This one.
I will pass that over to Marlo first. Not that I expect anything interesting. I'll let the expert look at it first. Speaking of Unitil, the sign up front of the safety building,
Yeah, did you see the price of it?
do we have a separate account for that? How
I
is
haven't
that
seen
being
a separate
handled?
bill yet.
I haven't seen one either.
Cause,
It'd be nice.
okay,
I think we're supposed to.
So whenever that happens and we get a bill, you should probably add it into one of the net metered things so that we have less of the overage that we don't
I can do
use.
that once a year.
Yeah.
So I could do it April, I think it is.
And this only has so this is the salt shed, the Veterans Memorial, the 2 solar arrays.
That's the only ones we owed money on.
Okay, so
The others.
these 2 were fully credited?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Your solar array, your solar array doing work.
And the solar arrays, it cracks me up that you have to have a meter there, so that you can have a meter that tells you how much you produce. Then you have to pay, the meter fee,
Oh, that makes.
because you have a meter. Yeah,
We don't have a choice now.
no,
Well,
I don't
if,
think you do.
so if those hadn't been, for example, behind or on the safety building or the town hall, instead of in a field across the road, then they would have tied through our existing meters.
Yeah,
But since there's no existing meter there, they needed a meter to
makes sense.
If, for example, they were owned by the school instead of the town, the school could route the electricity
theirs.
through the school and the normal meter, and then not have to pay the meter fees.
Oh, okay.
And why did that happen? Why didn't that?
Well, because the town funded it for the town's benefit instead of the school funding it for the school's benefit.
Oh, well, couldn't they just give us a little discount off that big check that was floating?
So,
Probably not.
there are possibilities of lots of things. Once we have our access path and our sand shed stuff engineered, like what we're gonna put up there, then we can also talk about what other space is up there and whether it might make sense to try and install a newer solar field up there that could run through the new sand shed and the public safety building to offset demand charges and not have extra meters, and then sell those to the school to offset the schools. And Fred Regan was amenable to talking about that, but we never went further on it since we're not in the position to
To do it.
even ask the voters if that makes sense yet or not, so.
Gotcha.
As a side note, there is impact money that's for the school, for these speed signs,
Oh, whoopsie. Oh, God. Somebody will kill me.
It fits in there. It goes in there somewhere.
Oopsie.
Don't worry, Marlo, I'll cover for you.
Okay, good.
All right, anything further for us to sign?
No, thank you.
All right, any last comments?
Yes,
Yes.
one that I forgot. Emmett is having a district meeting at the fire station. I just wanted everybody to know, he's having a fire district meeting for all the fire chiefs in the district. They're going there to discuss business and talk about what's going on. I guess they're gonna have a meal or something there tomorrow night.
Tomorrow, yeah. Sweet. Lots of fire chiefs. Good coverage.
Now's the time.
All right, do we have anything further that we need, or
I
can we
don't.
adjourn?
No, I don't.
God, David.
All right, I would move that we exit the meeting and close the session at 8:03.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What, chief, what? Joint. I thought you indicated.
Boy, these are so complicated.
Yeah,
What? Good.
that's the new laptop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
To bring on